It's daybreak here on Arise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. This day newspaper this morning. Leading headline, Emefiele resumes. That's the CBN governor, says he remains committed to his oath of office and Buhari's policy direction. Some more writers there. DSS denies arresting the CBN governor. President intervenes, insists court order must be obeyed. That leading photo there of the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, captioned, "Why I want to be president." He was reeling all that out at Chatham House in the United Kingdom yesterday. Meanwhile, APC demands immediate arrest and prosecution of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku, who says it's too risky to hand over Nigeria to Tinubu or Obi. Find out why on page 12. And just above the nameplate of this day this morning, NUPRC, 7 deep offshore mini bid winners to be announced in the next 4 months.
The Punch newspaper, as leading author with the governor of the central bank, Emefiele, DSS's running battle paused as the central bank governor resumes. There's confusion as the Secret Service debunks claims of arrest. Oil blocks licensing to end in April, the federal government says, and state local governments meet with the Revenue Mobilization Commission, and they say they want higher revenue. Well, the states are asking for more money. And graphed video, Tinubu Presidential Campaign Council demands Atiku's prosecution, and the People's Democratic Party protests. INEC confess attackers kill policeman and guards defend facility.
Let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. The leading headline, APC PCC seeks Atiku's probe for fraud within 72 hours. That leading photo there, the suspect found in court yesterday, Bolanle Rahim, killer police suspect, pleads not guilty. World Economic Forum predicts global recession, interest rates hike.
In the Guardian newspaper, subsidy stop 100% fuel importation. Labour charges government. 38 days to pause. APC demands Atiku quits as PDP seeks Tinubu's arrest. The Central Bank of Nigeria confirms the governor's resumption. It's silent on alleged planned arrest. 25 million Nigerians at risk of severe hunger in 2023. That's according to the Federal Food Organization. And the Kogi government rejects Monarch's reply to query.
Some international papers now. The Guardian UK. Met officer admits to brutal campaign of rape and terror. David Carrick faces long jail sentence after pleading guilty to assault on 12 women.
The iPaper is also leading with the police crisis. 800 officers face inquiry after failure to stop rapists.
All right, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us now. Emmanuel, thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the Apex Bank of Nigeria and the governor. There's been reports that he has now finally resumed his back in the country, and he says he remains committed to his oath of office and President Buhari's policy direction. Well, there's been some controversy. There were some reports that DSS was laying siege at the CBN headquarters. They've now come out to debunk that. I don't know if anyone has actually seen the CBN governor. We're expecting the MPC meeting next week, Monday. What are your thoughts on all this, Emmanuel Bello?
Well, good morning, KG. Kenneth, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's another day, and then it's another Emefiele story, and Emefiele has been in the news for long now. I think what has compounded the Emefiele saga, if we'll call it that, is this thing about his arrest and all this wild allegation around him. And when he was away, some people actually said he was in hiding and that he was seeking. There was also sort of wild stories around his return. So, but that is not likely put to rest because he's back, And it was from what his publicists are saying, that was he's gone for vacation and he needed one. I mean, Nkechi, remember that he almost ran for president, and he has this huge work ethics around him, this very loaded work ethic, and not to speak of the his effort at trying to the naira design and the issue of the currency itself and all the other monetary policies. So yes, this is a man you would say deserve his rest. But while he was away, there were all these wild stories around him, and then of course the allegations and the courts, the court stopping his arrest, DSS saying that look, they are professional about it, and then everything came to a head yesterday. That's what this day is reporting, and some other papers are reporting. And the Emefiele got back from his holiday, and then the DSS had to deny that, look, they were, because early in the day there were reports, especially in the socials, that the DSS is condoned of the CBN around the office and waiting to arrest Emefiele, and a lot of people saying that, look, that would have been very disastrous. So yes, Nkechi, I don't know about you, but there's a cloud around this whole thing, and I think what we can do is what this day is doing now, reporting the various sides, what both sides are saying. CBN saying that, look, Emefiele is is professional too, and he's got a job to do, and that his oath is to the people of Nigeria and to his office. So he doesn't have any other thing to hide or to do. But other people accusing him of funding terror. It's crazy. Yesterday we just did a story of how CBN is tracking monies, terrorism funding and all of that, putting policies in place so that we check how crime is funded around the country. In fact, the very essence of redesigning the note and actually introducing new currencies and all of that is actually to stop this black market money that's actually going into crimes. So you will say on one hand, Emefiele is doing everything in his patriotic best to ensure that monies don't do bad things for this country, but good things. On the other hand, DSS had to come out and say, look, we're very professional in what we do. We don't just go after people. And then the courts too saying that no, you can't arrest a man like that. In this story, this is the story. The president is, as even in the presidency, waiting with the president say actually court order should be obeyed. The president protecting Emefiele. I mean, if there's anybody who will know whether Emefiele is a bad guy or not, should be the president. But the president himself now saying no, don't touch him. Obey court order. So I think the more we dig into this story, I bet you we're going to be getting all sorts of angles and all sorts of interesting, curious readings. Nobody knowing what's happening. But what's out there now is that Emefiele is back. Those NPC meetings you just spoke about, Nkechi, will be happening next week. And then maybe we'll get a glimpse, maybe for the first time, of him probably talking about his ordeal himself and what's happening. But for now, he has a collection of lawyers who are there ready, big-time lawyers, San, former Attorney General, people like that, former Minister of Justice, all set to protect him, and with even one of them saying it's ridiculous, it can only happen in a banana republic that the CBN governor will be picked like as if he's a nobody, but that everyone's rights should be obeyed. So all these angles are being looked at in the reports that we're having, and this day brought it out to a head today to say, such yesterday, Emefiele is back, to resume work, and that all is well.
Speaking about all being well, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party has delivered a speech at Chatham House in London. Peter Obi says he will tear down structures holding Nigeria captive. Emmanuel, what's your assessment of his delivery yesterday?
Nothing earth-shaking there. I mean, these are things that Obi has said again and again. He's the candidate without a structure. That was his traducers were actually using that against him. But he's actually spinning that now into something that looks like a very positive force for him. I don't have a structure. The structure that has been there before me, as the structure that's actually held the country down. But now I want to become the president that doesn't have to work with any of these structures, and that's what he's saying. So he's just taking his message, the message that he keeps giving out here to the global stage, Chatham, where he was able to say those things, actually double down on some of the things he has always said, that look, what you have in place is very brutal, it does not work for the people, but he's coming to rejig all of that. He's the iconic iconoclast kind of president who is going to just break down what is there, the structure that is there before, and do something very messianic in his place. He's going to be the candidate for change. He's going to be, so he says all of that. Those who don't like him will say that, look, it is just hot winds, hot air, and that is not really talking about how he's going to actually get that done. But he's not backing down. He continuously put it back to his opponents. He called them, the other day he said, look, we need a president that can stand for 30 minutes. And some of the presidential candidates are pushing back, calling him a greenhorn. And that I think Atiku said that, saying that, look, he doesn't know what it takes to do this job. But he is saying that, look, the presidency is not a place for retirement, it's not a place for older people. So he's pushing for youth energy. He's saying that, look, I'm youthful, I've got 21st century ideas, I'm not backward, my ideas about fixing Nigeria are based on science and all of that. That's the sort of thing Obi keeps talking about, and that is resonating with a segment. Others are saying, well, we don't still think you have the network and the very structure that you say you don't need, the kind of things you actually need to be president.
Emmanuel Bello, let's talk about the other top two parties in the upcoming general elections. You have Atiku from the PDP saying it's too risky to hand over Nigeria to Tinubu, or Obi saying Saraki says voting APC is rewarding failure. Now you have the APC PCC seeking Atiku's probe for fraud within 72 hours.
Well, yesterday was loaded with all of that, and it would have been a good day for Atiku. He was attending the summit, the economic summit meeting. It would have been a good day for him, if not for Keabo, who came out from nowhere and slammed away some 72, 72 hours asking that he should be arrested. And it was a pretty, it's on the cover now of this day, and some other papers carried it. Some really serious accusation, tied down to those SPVs that some whistleblowers, said that Atiku is corrupt and that he should be charged. In fact, according to Kemo, sent him to jail. Dino was on the network yesterday. Dino Milai, the spokesman of Atiku, also pushing back on that and saying that it's a joke. You cannot arrest him. But Atiku too has his own, has fire of his own when he say that you can't hand over this country to Tinubu. As far as concerned, Tinubu doesn't have the know-how and doesn't have the ideas to change this country. And for Obi, think that Obi is a greenhorn, and we don't need all of that. So we're seeing these candidates now taking it out on each other, calling each other names, and actually, I think we're at that stage in the campaign where all gloves are off now, and that the marks are off too, and that this candidate wants to go at each other, head to head and toe to toe, fight it out and call each other names. But I think Nigerians still want to know ideas, want to hear from them what they want to do and how they want to do it. I think was giving a lot of that yesterday during the economic summit, but he had a bad evening when Festus Keyamo just struck with those accusations, saying that he needs to go to jail and not the villa.
This name calling, Emmanuel, how many more votes will it bring in for these candidates? Shouldn't they be focusing on selling themselves instead of focusing on other candidates?
Well, yeah, sadly it's the campaign, and almost like in war, almost everything is fair. They have to throw this at each other. They have to find a way of demarketing the other person. Of course, it's not in the best practice of it.
To demarket someone else, you keep focusing on them. Why not focus on you?
Unfortunately, that's what campaigns do to each other. Because when you focus on the other person, you are actually redirecting traffic attention to the other person. You are taking the attention from you to the other person. It doesn't make sense, and in a way, inadvertently, you're actually selling the other candidate, no matter what you're saying, because all publicity in a campaign, it's good. Whether it's good or bad publicity, is good for them. The fact that someone is even talking about you at all is good publicity. So candidates actually look forward to that. And for instance, even when Keyamo talked about arrest of Atiku, there are people who say that, look, that is also helping Atiku, because you can draw sympathy to him in calling for an arrest at this time of the race. So he didn't actually get the kind of support or the kind of traction Keyamo was hoping to get from that. So And when, for instance, Atiku 2 called Obi a greenhorn, that's also buying Obi some kind of sympathy, because people will say, well, yeah, that's the sort of greenhorn we need. Experience has not really helped us in this country where we are today because of experience. And Obi says that a lot. He say the structures and the experience that his opponents keep talking about found us in this place that we are. And you heard what Saraki said. He said, look, if you vote in APC, you'll be rewarding bad governance, and you'll be rewarding what has failed. And he actually say this election coming is a referendum, and a lot of people agree with him that it's a referendum on the performance of APC. So, and he thinks that if Nigerians would vote for APC, and he tried to stay on the subject, like he said during his appearance on this network. He said, look, I'm staying on the subject. I don't want to do this sort of thing that, Kenneth, you are saying that the other people are doing, which is talking about the other opponents. Say, let us look at the statistics, let us look at the facts, not the fiction. Let's stay on the facts. What has happened to us? Are we better off as a people 7 years down the line? And if the answer is no, then this election is going to be a report card sort of, or a referendum, or a punishment of what, punishing what has happened, and we're not going to reward the APC by voting it back. So yes, you're right, Kenneth. Those are the sort of arguments that this candidate ought to be putting forward, or the people that speak for them, like Saraki was trying to do yesterday.
Emmanuel Bello, on the front page of The Nation and The Punch, is reporting that that incident that happened last Christmas, the killing of lawyer Bolanle Rahim by a police officer, he's now been arraigned yesterday in Lagos, and he pleaded not guilty. And you had lawyers saying, look, this sort of thing will not be swept under the rug anymore. Justice must prevail. What are your thoughts?
Let's not forget the police ban in the UK as well. Yes,
Kenneth, it's good that you brought that up, because you can actually, there's a trade down between what's happening with the police out here and the story we're looking at today in the in the UK papers about the corruption. Over 800, and some papers actually say 1,600, policemen in the UK under some kind of probe, especially after what that Met cop did, agreeing to have raped over 40 ladies. So how is the police finding himself in this kind of situation? Elsewhere in the world, they are talking about reforms, institutional changes that can help them. Some others are saying that you have to actually, administer some kind of psychological test, on policemen, on people before you give them, the power to be able to arrest, or the power to be able to shoot down someone. So. And we may have to do that, because sometimes the behavior of some of these policemen suggests that something is wrong, some kind of psychosis, and it's not right. So in the future, we may have to include, checking the psychological makeup of this. And yes, justice has to be seen as done. In the past, policemen or the people who do this kind of thing, it will just go to court, and before you know something, nobody is hearing the story. And we in the media too, we have to stay on a story like this. What's happening to the cop? Where is he now? What's happening to the case? Let's not just let it go. And that's the role we need to perform. But of course, yes, there's a police problem almost everywhere. In the UK papers today, that seems to be the dominant story. Government will have to come up with the policies, but institution too, we have to look inwards. The IG, for instance, is promising that he will do a lot, to walk around the police. We've had that again and again. There's been talk about looking into the welfare of the police, whether that will help. But ultimately, I think there's a need to start administering some kind of psychological test on the men and women that we're going to be handing guns to protect civilians like you and I.
Thank you, Emmanuel Bello. That's the press preview this morning. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at AriseTV. You can join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaily.